Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known, and it is Friday. Well, we start with a black man in Texas has received a 70-year prison sentence. Why? His crime? Spitting at a police officer. We will discuss that. And is it becoming a trend following the expulsion of two lawmakers in Tennessee? Republicans in Arizona have voted to expel one of their own colleagues after they alleged that she didn't toe the party line and invited a guest to the chambers to talk about criminal allegations among politicians. Also, New Edition is getting a special honor this weekend at the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville. We will also update you on the health of Jamie Foxx. Welcome, and we will welcome Auntie Nakia. It's Auntie Nakia Friday. Nakia Cooper, what's going on, girl? Where she at? Where you at?
How are you?
I'm doing
Friday.
good.
Happy Friday.
Who?
Friday.
Friday. That's a black thing. Is that a black thing?
That's a black thing. We are like, yay, it's Friday.
It's a black thing they wouldn't understand, huh?
It's a black thing they better understand.
Oh, they better understand.
They better understand.
Well, you know what? Well, I don't understand. And well, actually, we do understand what's going on in this world, in this United States. A Texas man, Nakia, was sentenced to 70 years in prison after he allegedly spat at police officers. His name is Larry Pearson. He's 36 years old. He was arrested on a domestic violence charge last May, and where the victim told police that he hit her several times and was armed. Well, the firearm was actually an airsoft gun, and a police report stated that the victim had multiple visible injuries on her face. But when Pearson was taken into custody, he was upset. Mm-hmm. And when police ordered him to stop, he allegedly spat at them, not on them, but spat at them. And so he was found guilty of harassing a public servant for spitting at these officers. And during the trial, of course, the prosecutors argued that he was a threat to society, et cetera, because he had previous convictions. Well, he had faced 25 years, which is crazy enough.
Crazy.
And got 70.
So the retaliation is real. That's the way that I think, right? And where is the justice or the justice for just us, right? There is none. There is none. What about all of the police officers who are roaming the streets after they have beaten and killed our black men? They're not using airsoft guns. They're not using a bodily fluids or whatever, right? They are, look at what happened to, just keep on, just put everybody out there. Look at everything that they've done to every last unarmed black man out here, and they are free roaming the streets, and there is no justice. And I sound like a broken record because I don't know what else to say. You sit here, whatever judge allowed this to happen, whatever prosecutors, whatever, the district attorneys, who was going to stand for him? Who was going to step in and say, this is just a bit much? I couldn't even be the presiding judge over this, but of course, he's the person, or he or she is the person who hands down this sentence.
Well, and that's the
what is there anything that we can do? There's nothing we can do, right?
What we do, what have we been doing throughout history? No justice, no peace, things of that nature. While that's been able to take care of some things or overturn some things, it's been hard pressed. Black America has been hard pressed to overturn injustices in the courthouses that happen daily. And it happens often. And that is it got to be by design. We've talked about the war on drugs, the so-called war on drugs, mass incarceration, situations like this. We talked about the young kid, 15 years old, the other day, who was recently resentenced to 30 years in prison after getting 65 years in prison because the cops killed his friend.
Yeah. And this is the funny thing about everything. They have us now in this world where they're telling us about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? It's like after the murder of George Floyd, they did a bunch of things in corporate America to try to say, oh, okay, we're going to recognize, we're going to change Aunt Jemima's name and
Uncle Ben.
yeah, we're going to do that, but we're going to get you in words in their thing every which way we can under the guise of the just us system. And the just us system is really more about the just us, meaning them. There is no way that this young man should be looking at the next 70 years of his life for doing what a preschooler does. He threw a temper tantrum. He spit on somebody.
He didn't ask a little boy to suck his tongue, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that person is still roaming the streets, right? And
Yeah.
in the clergy. So it's just, how do you deliver that? And who is this judge?
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's the thing too. As we said, it constantly happens. These judges have absolutely no type of I mean, to say they have no heart is giving them the benefit of the doubt in itself. I mean, they're just, this is a plot. This is an overall plot that's been going on, and it's really been manifesting itself of the last, say, half century or so. I mean, half decade or so, I should say, where we keep hearing about the browning of America, the darkening of America. And that is really what's driving all of this, in my view. What's really driving all of this. We talk about Barack Obama being president, the first Black president. To me, that only sped up the inevitable. And this is the inevitable. Donald Trump is the inevitable. Ron DeSantis is the inevitable. And these judges and these laws and sending this guy. I mean, it's hard. And see, here's the thing with him. It's hard to feel sorry for anybody who beats on a woman, right? That was the original alleged crime.
But that's not what he was convicted of.
Right. Exactly. And so you got to look at the strategic nature in which they do this as well.
Exactly, because the women who are being beaten out here, every race, color, creed, everything, right? There are no protections. We can go all over the world. There are no protections for that. Oh, you slap a person, you punch a person, you hit a person. Oh, we're gonna let you out. Most of the times on a PR bond for that, but you spit on a police officer. Oh my God! You know, this same police officer that will probably whoop you, beat you, kill you under the cover of darkness. And these days, it's not even under the cover of darkness anymore, not even under the cover of a cloak, you know, but they do it right there, loud and proud. And that is exactly what this is. This is something that they have been trying. It's a mass incarceration. You complain and say that the jails are overcrowded, but you throw a Black man in jail to take up 70 years of the taxpayers' money because he threw a 3-year-old temper tantrum and he spit on somebody.
And he didn't even spit on them. Let's make sure we are clear that he spit at them. Austin Cooper says, what sentence would the judge have given to his son or a friend of his son? And the thing is,
no sentence.
They have no, see, they don't see us as human.
No, they don't.
It's the bottom line. Now, look at that picture of Larry Pearson. You know, this is a picture that is paraded often, a Black man surrounded by white men in uniform. And then you get to thinking even deeper. Now, he spat at these cops, right? When they took him out of public view. They said they don't even care if it's in public view anymore. But could you imagine what they did to this young man?
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course. You know, he got his butt beat for that, right? They did their own justice for him. Mm-hmm. The mocking and the torment.
Yeah.
It's another.
You know, he's at their mercy now. Totally.
Yeah, and they put him in a special cell where he could be victimized by others. You know, when anybody, you know, they decide where they place you in there. How do we change this? And I understand that. See, that's why the Black press is so powerful and was so needed. But then when you look at something like this, it's like, what can we do?
Yeah.
We can talk about it and keep it in the headlines, but they'll never change.
Yeah. Well, you know. They'll never change, and people say you shouldn't use terminology of never and always, but it's always been like that, so you can say they will never change. It's always been this way, right? We may have gotten periods in this country where there's been sort of peace, right? But that's been manufactured peace. You know, we've had some victories, but those been very short-lived victories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. You know, we talk often about Denise Roark Barnes often talked about solutions journalism, right?
Yeah.
And so what is the solution, you say here? What is the solution? We've been grappling for solutions since we got here.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm
unfortunate.
often I'm not often speechless. I am today. My heart is broken. My heart is broken by seeing this, because if they
70
do
years.
that, there's nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing we could do. Like I'm officially. I hate to say it. I'm almost officially tapped out, and I think that's what they want us to do. They want us to tap out. They want to lock us up. They want us to be extinct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And they
that's
were
the bottom.
empowered. A bunch of ignorant buffoons were empowered by a president who allowed it to be open season, who told them to remove your cloaks, remove the cloth, and come out, and we will protect you politically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. You know,
And it
Mar-
really,
Marjorie Taylor Greene and others went to the D.C. jail to visit those incarcerated for the January 6th riot and insurrection. And that sense, what message does that send, right?
exactly. And then did you see that they tried to use the word insurrection with the Justins? With the
Oh
two
yeah,
justices, they said
oh
that
yeah,
was an insurrection.
insurrection.
Using a bullhorn to demand justice for children who were killed by a mass shooter and gun control laws is very different from defecating in the offices of people and trying to hunt down female politicians and all of that.
And
This
the vice president.
the walls of the building, climbing up, scaling the walls like miniature King Kongs, right? But they called us savages.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. And you mentioned that Tennessee situation. There's a new audio tape of what went on behind the scenes there. The speaker, Cameron Sexton, this, you know, they talked about the Republic, saving the Republic. And that's what it's all about. He said it out loud, but he didn't know. I guess he didn't know it was being recorded. And that's what it's all about. And look what's happening now. We can segue to Arizona, right? Now, these are all Republicans. Arizona State House, they ousted a member because she decided to bring someone in to speak about crimes committed by politicians. And so Rep. Liz Harris was ousted. How do you... So here's the really big issue with this and what happened in Tennessee. Yeah, those young men were reinstated, but the fact that they could toss them out. These are elected officials, elected, right? Liz is elected. Liz Harris, elected. And so you're telling the people, her constituents, and Justin's Jones and Pearson's constituents that
they don't matter.
You don't matter. We don't care that this is who you put there. We're taking them out.
And when they say that they don't matter, they're also saying your vote doesn't matter, because we're voting people in, right? And they're saying, but I could toss them out at any time, right? Then the people that we don't vote on, then, and the people that are appointed, the people that are just sitting there and doing all these kind of things, then these egregious acts, they're like, whatever. You know, then you wonder, who is it that's going to fight for us? When they clearly showed with the Justins that, okay, now this one, yes, they have a white woman here, but of course, you know, they felt like she was not on the right side of life in their opinions, right? It's how dare you bring a guest to the dinner, to the dinner, you know, you know, and then with the Justins, and they allowed the white woman to stay, and she was doing the same exact thing. It's just showing us where race and politics are going in this country. It's showing us where democracy really is taking. It has taken a tumble, and
Yeah.
we are all fighting to come back.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
want us to give up on that fight.
And so I know it's a tough question for you, but you've been talking about it. What do you say to individuals who, or well, what do you say to individuals, right? Who say, what can we do? We can't do anything. Do you point to the two Justins because they were able to get this overturned? It seems like there's this silver, not a silver lining, but this little bright light somewhere, right? But every time that light gets, the power gets taken out of that light, and then up props, comes something else. So what do you say?
So what I would say is that I know how we love to say, because I just said, oh my God, I'm officially tapped out, right? But then you have to get reinvigorated and keep saying, they say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Well, guess what? Knuckle up again. We go back in. We keep fighting, right? We are in the world of social media. We are in the world of mass media. We are in the world where we can just continue to keep shining the light, because what happened to the Justins was turned around because immediate attention was put on it, and people were not going to let up until they said, oh, we're going to change the rules. Remember, usually it would have taken a longer time for the voting to be reinstated. They changed those rules of negative attention and all of that. We just have to keep putting this out there. People have to continue voting. People have to keep writing or watching the proper programs. You have to tune in. They can no longer allow themselves to consume snackable media. And that's the thing. I understand that everybody's talking about the low attention span of this generation.
Yeah.
They even tell us journalists that don't write long form articles anymore. We
Right.
want you to just keep it snackable content because people aren't reading anymore. Well, if you stop reading, if you stop watching, if you continue to only consume bits and pieces of your life, they are going to continue to chip away at massive pieces of your life. You have to move forward and keep fighting and educate yourselves and go back to the old school ways. We got things of the way that we march, the way that we shout, the way that we protest. We can keep it. We have to keep moving forward, but you have to stop jumping in here and there, and it has to be continuous, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we have to support each other.
Well, and you mentioned the whole reading and education. Well, guess what? Guess what they're doing around the country, right? Banning books.
Banning
They're
books.
and and you're so right. I've heard many of editors now over the last several years, in fact, keep it to 700 words or 600 words. And in a lot of cases, you do best if you keep it to 500 words. My goodness, sometimes my opening paragraph is my lead is 500 words, but you're right, and so it's further encouraging folks not to read. We can say that, and it's true what you said. People are just not reading a lot at all. They want to see the clickbait, and what that clickbait headlines. That this is why disinformation spreads so much.
Yeah.
Because of that clickbait. And what's interesting. Senior citizens, for the most part, are the ones you see still with the New York Times or with the
Yes.
Amsterdam News or something like that, and they are up on everything, right?
Yes.
That is important, and it's our generation or the generation after us that decided it's all about this, and like you said, the short attention span, because so much is being thrown at them, so much.
They have to change their lives. They have to change their mindset. Just because.
How do you do that? Solutions journalism time. How do you do that?
We keep giving them information, and we keep giving them information that's going to grab we need to give them things that's going to grab their attention, and then we have to show them why it's important to read through the entire article and watch the video through the first pre-roll, right? I mean, the pre-roll and then and then the roll. Like they're saying, can you keep them past 15 seconds, 30 seconds? If they don't tune in, they're going to tap out. They're
Yeah.
locked up.
They keep, we gain
Gotta know
50
your right.
yards on the field and realize that the goalpost is only supposed to be 50 more yards, and it turns out they add another 100 yards. The game is never fair.
Yeah,
It's never fair.
it's never fair.
Well, I was watching this video of Kiss, and this is a segue into what we're going to get into now, but a perfect segue, I think, because what happened was the Kiss is on tour. Supposedly it's the last
Last
time
tour.
they're going to tour, right? The last tour.
Mhm.
So I'm watching this video. It's happening in Brazil yesterday or the day before yesterday. They're playing, and all of a sudden, Gene Simmons, he goes down in a squatting position basically, and he cannot move. He can't. He's out of breath. He's feeling ill, and they're going. And Paul Stanley stops the show, telling the crowd, we got to get Gene well. We got to get him well. And you see the whole crew from behind stage come out there,
Wow.
and he was so ill that he was afraid to move. And it kind of looked like, and several people commented, looked like he was sitting on a toilet, basically.
Oh,
That's the way he
wow.
was situated. It's so embarrassing for a guy who is so proud, right? But I say it's a segue because we're going to talk about New Edition. New Edition, first of all, let's talk about the good thing about New Edition. What's happening this Sunday? The National Museum of African American Music is honoring New Edition. A new edition exhibit is going into the museum. It's sponsored by the Recording Industry Association of America. It's in recognition of New Edition's 40th anniversary.
Yeah,
How about that? And New Edition is 40 years old. My goodness, I feel old.
I know, and Ronnie DeVoe still looks 15. I mean, like, how the heck does that happen? I need his fountain of youth. I mean,
He
oh my
does,
God.
but you know who don't?
Don't go there.
My man. but you know what? They and you guys who are watching, you'll see why the Gene Simmons thing was a segue in a moment. But
Yes.
But the thing is, they have been basically the kings of R&B, right?
Yes, they have.
Is there a doubt about that?
Well, not for someone for me, I don't know about R&B, but because then that's when you would come back with a Levert, with all of that. But they have definitely they are the king and the epics of what they call now boy bands and stuff like that. Like, they remember after it was New Edition, then there was New Kids on the Block and all of that. They took the Jackson 5 to the next level. They are our generation's and the fact that they are still, still looking fly as ever. Like, right. Groups these days do not dress alike, like, you look at that.
Yeah.
But like, this is nostalgia, right? This is the king. This is like, these concerts are selling out. Everybody is coming there. I am a candy girl for life. Mr. Telephone Man, N.E. Heartbreak. Yeah, this is it's absolutely amazing, and it's a show that I know I am desperate to get to. I really want to. I'm kicking myself because I didn't make it to the Houston show, working, and I just really and truly have to catch this show, and I got to catch Usher in Vegas. I just got to say that because I heard that is amazing.
But before you get to Mr. Bobby Brown,
yes.
You said something a moment ago, and it may have went over some people's head, it may have turned some people's head. You said that they took the Jackson 5 to the next level, and I want to go back to that.
Lord, fight.
Well, here's the thing. Now, I'm not the biggest of New Edition's fans, right? I mean, I don't dislike New Edition. I enjoy Candy Girl, like you said. I mean, Can You Stand the Rain? Everything, right? But the thing people might find surprising, the Jackson 5 never won a Grammy, right?
Really?
I'm not sure that they won an American Music Award either. And you remember, the American Music Award was more about Black artists than anything else. They had a string of hits to start their career, and they've had some great music. I mean, listen, I was the biggest Jackson 5 Jacksons fan there was, right? To me, Victory Tour is still unmatched, right? You could, I think that the Victory Tour was better than any Michael Jackson solo tour, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Those brothers, when they hit that stage, there was nothing like
that's
5 brothers who hit the stage. And you know what? Who was it? Prince came on stage after joined Sheila E. on stage one time. She was doing a show in San Francisco, and he remarked, "Man, she just wrecked this stage. You couldn't go back on a stage if the Jacksons had hit that stage and did what they did, right? I mean, there was nobody like Michael, Marlon, Tito, Jermaine, and Jackie. There was nobody like them. But as far as hits are concerned, New Edition has much more hits than the Jackson 5. And now remember, there is the Jackson 5, and then there was the Jacksons after Jermaine left and Randy joined the group. But New Edition have more hits. And now you see them, and like you said, those boys, they still looking great.
I'm telling you.
You see Jackie and Marlon, they still look fantastic too. They are. Jackie is a guy who even guys will say, "Man, that dude look good." So, but these guys, New Edition, wow, just wow, what they've been able to accomplish.
I think that they're so good right now that they actually can bring in a newer generation. Like, you know how some people, it's just like you touring and it's just, your old school audience. I think that they can actually probably make new music and then get a new audience too, more than that. Because I think with the biopics or with the BET shows, like their life stories being out, like just think about like my daughter and other people fell in love with TLC all over again, or for the first time, while I fell in love with them all over again just after seeing the movie, right? And then seeing the things about Whitney Houston and then the Bobby Brown story and the New Edition story. And you see that and it humanizes them and it gives us that, look into their fishbowl. And then the next thing you know, they're on tour again and everybody's excited to go and see them. So that's where I think a lot of that comes into play. It's just amazing to see these men at the top. It's like they're at the top of their game all over again.
That's what makes it so amazing, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
There's your boy.
Come on, Bobby. Come through now.
So what's up with Bobby? I talked about Gene Simmons and this being a segue. What's up with Bobby?
So what we did, on Facebook, you would see everybody making these videos, TikTok. They are overlaying sound on Bobby Brown's performance, and it's someone like going, they're doing this stuff, and they're making it out. They're making fun of him for being out of breath. And if you'll see on a lot of the performances, then he'll just walk off the stage and it looks like he's going to go catch his breath. Some people in the comment section say, no, that's planned. That's when he walks off the stage. But he clearly is not, keeping up with the other ones because they are bouncing and dancing. Oh, they still on that routine now,
Yeah.
If it isn't love, they're still on it. He's not hanging in there quite right.
He's been known to take a breath.
Yeah, he has to take a couple of breaths. And what I did for our, we put an article on Bayou Beat News that said the internet should stop laughing and should start applauding out of breath Bobby Brown because he is hanging in there. He revealed that he's had heart attacks, stroke. He's had a stent put in his heart. So for him to get up there, because I'm going to tell you, I cannot get up there. I will not be able to make it past one set, and for him, he's making it through, the shows and having to take breaths in between. We should be applauding Bobby and saying, keep on, keeping on. But at the same time, I do think that they need to put, I'm just saying, I don't know how it looks, but, sometimes you put a little stool out there, let them keep singing and everything and doing things, but like, give them a break. We don't want to lose Bobby. It's great to see that heart of a champion keep on going, but we don't want him to be exhausted and making it like a real health concern and everything, because when you look at him and all of the footage and stuff, I think people should look at it at a different eye. And and just to say this too, there's some heartbreaking footage and about Casey and JoJo when they're touring. That Casey looks like it looks like he almost had a stroke up on stage or something a couple of times, but his mouth, he's slurring. They're wiping his sweat. The security in the back are coming from from behind, and everybody's trying to get him off of there. They're fanning him, like you see that, and they're telling him, "Look at that."
Yeah.
And he's trying to sing. His brother saying, "Go on," and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. I was thinking, like you said, about bringing a stool out. There's a couple of thoughts to that. Like the Four Tops, for instance, right? There's only one surviving original, Abdul Fakir, and he comes out now and without any, and he shouldn't be ashamed at all. I mean, the man is almost 80 years old. And he sits on a stool, and the guys are dancing and stuff. The young guys that they hired to fill in as Four Tops, Otis Williams of the Temptations. He's out there now. They don't bring a stool out for Otis. He's still trying to keep up too. Do you think? Maybe put it this way, because I think it is. I think it's adrenaline. You get on that stage and you got all these people still yelling and screaming for you and still loving your stuff. It's adrenaline. Bobby is probably fueled by adrenaline, and it catches up from time to time.
And I think that's what I said. It's the heart of a champion. It is the art of the performance, right? I mean, it's the spirit of the performer. You can't, that's just like, and even though he is not out of shape and he's not out of breath, that's just like Tom Brady could not retire. Every time he tried to retire, he's coming right back, because you can't tell these people that have that in their blood to stop. You can't tell them to take a break, and they are, like, you couldn't even move KC off the stage. They're saying goodbye, we got it from here, and he would not let go of that microphone, and he kept singing. So it's just, some people say this was my life, this is the way it is, and it's good to be on stage for them.
It is.
Laughing at them.
And David Youngblood mentions that Ron Isley is doing the same thing as well.
Mr. B.
Look, but I want to, before we move on, I want to mention something. Like, we're seeing this footage here, and you mentioned earlier about how they dress. No one seems to be doing that except New Edition.
Oh, right, because P. Diddy kind of stopped that when he became the A&R or whatever, and he was in charge of Jodeci. Remember, that's when we saw people no longer dressing alike. That's what I remember. That was the big thing back then, because for us, we saw all of the bands, they dressing and not like, it was like silk, everybody had their uniform, and Diddy was like saying, and then Jodeci came out, they fly, they had their vests, like all of them had a different, they weren't suited and booted like these guys. These guys came out street, and that's what I think the whole way that they took it with Jodeci and with Mary J. Blige breaking the mold and being hip hop and being, jerseys, snapbacks and stuff like that. It took it to a different level. So for them, with the dressing alike and everything, it is nostalgia. Like when you had the little, what were they, the B2K boys, and the little guys like Batman and whoever, what were they called? I don't remember what those boys were called. But remember, they didn't dress alike at that time. Like, everybody then started to change and became their own individual person who developed their own style with that. But for us, it's acceptable to see New Edition dressing alike. That's because it goes back to the nostalgia of those days. So
I think it's fantastic to see. And so in this footage here, they have on the exact same colors, but then in other footages, they're wearing the same thing but different colors. I just think that the way they do it, and then you look at, we show the crowd. There's not an empty seat in the house, and we're talking 40 years of this. Now, a little side note, right? What's his name? Johnny Gill. We forget he wasn't an original.
I know. And we
Johnny
welcomed him
and
into
he,
the fold. It was like it was so heartbreaking when they split up New Edition and had to move him over. And then it was heartbreaking when Bobby Brown left, right? And then you bring in Johnny Gill, and then they split up, and then they go do their thing with Belle Biv DeVoe. And remember, now this was what was funny. Remember, Belle Biv DeVoe, when they split from New Edition, they became a little more street. If you could, they're talking about the Big Button, the Smile, and it's all of that.
all
And
that
so
voice.
you started to look at them like, y'all got a little bit of gangster in you, although we weren't quite buying the gangster, wasn't quite buying the gangster, but it was a little bit more edge. And then they can all come back together like this, and it's always still New Edition.
Well, you look, got a little pushback though, Auntie Nakia. My sister Monique Daniel, she says Johnny Gill, I'm sorry, he will never be New Edition in my eyes. And a lot of people feel that way. And I got, I like Johnny, my, and all that, but I agree 100% with that. That's not, it's not, that's an adopted child.
That's an adopted child. What did if this is true, like I love the part on the Temptations movie when he's like, he will never be David Ruffin. You remember? He was like, he will never be me. But he was talking about who Dennis Edwards, right? Dennis is not Otis, David, you're fake Temptation. So yeah, you get that kind of stuff. I mean, it is it's beautiful. And look, I love the Temptations movie. I mean, I love the Temptations movie so much that I love the Temptations, right?
Well,
I don't even realize that was something like, before my time. It's like, I'm right there with you, Otis.
I had an issue with the movie. In fact, I spoke to Otis about it at length. It was great for him to be very honest with me about it. But before I mention that, Aunt Pam McDaniel says the New Edition concert is a great show. I go every time they come to Virginia.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Every time. So here's my problem. So you remember, everybody knows Papa was a Rolling Stone. Everybody knows Just My Imagination. Get Ready, right? Damon Harris was the falsetto on those songs. Damon Harris took Eddie's place in the group, right? And that's when the Temptations won all their Grammys and sold the most records. Damon is not recognized in the film at all. Damon sang at my wedding. That was a shame that he was not. Now he's featured on the Broadway show. He is included in that, which I was, and that kind of, I went to see it. Otis was with us, Dr. Chavis, myself, and Otis watched it together and on Broadway. And, he explained a lot of things that it's important. It's always important to get both sides or at least all sides of the story, right?
Yes. And then, what it makes me think about,
because for years, I only got Damon's side.
Wow. It makes you think about the Salt and Pepper when they were saying Spinderella was left out of that, of the movie and everything. And people are come on with it. There you go. Like people feel in some type of way. But I gotta say
that was of the group.
That was your girl. That was your girl.
The one. Salt and Pepper could be here. Salt and Pepper, ooh, baby, baby. But come on now, ooh, baby, baby for me was
Spinderella. I'm just so jealous of you, Stacey. I have to say that because every time we're talking about something, you have this personal connection with everybody. So that's letting me have to know we gotta get our game.
It's a problem. It's not a good problem.
It's not a good problem.
No, because my wife tells me all the time, the worst thing that ever happened to you was knowing these people. and because as Greer will tell you, Greer loves to say, "Oh, he's so petty," and I'm very petty.
You petty.
So I can't be bothered with these folks. I cannot be bothered.
I love it.
I mentioned Damon was my boy. He was loved Damon. Damon passed away in 2012, and he had prostate cancer. And
why didn't they mention him?
Well, Otis said that there were some issues some personal issues that Damon wouldn't let go. And I won't go into them because some of it is just too. It's very private.
Super private.
But Damon's stories over the years was slightly different, but you could see where they would have their issues, right? Damon was very stubborn. Otis is very stubborn. When you put the two bulls together, they're gonna lock horns.
Lock horns.
And Otis is the boss at the end of the day.
That's what I was about to say. Otis is the original bull.
Yeah.
He was the start, the creator of it all. And then they had so many Temptations that came and went. Like they had those two groups. I remember that was just
well, Otis fortunate of the Temptations. He sued and won and got them to stop.
Gosh.
And he had solid ground. You know, it was it's his brand. And you know, so funny I say that because you hear the kids today talk about protecting their brand, young ones, but Otis is the OG of protecting the brand.
You know what? That's true. That's true. And I hate to say it, a lot of these young people, you don't have a brand yet. You don't have you have an Instagram and a social media following, and some of them with a bunch of fake bots on it. You do not have a brand, but we're gonna keep going with that one. But you know, that's what they say. You know.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. So speaking. So I was in Rosarito Beach, Mexico. This was probably 1998, I believe. And I was with some folks, and one of the groups that I was with, they were doing some shows. They were going to open up the show. It was a group that they was offsprings of the Temptation. They were all former Temptation members, and the name that they used, like Temptations Review or something of that nature. We get to Mexico, lights go down. They're supposed to open the show. Just before they opened the show, somebody served them. That show stopped. Wow. Otis struck.
The power of the brand. The power of the.
In Mexico. Yep.
That's what it is. Like they say, I guess he was the epitome of what Ludacris says, you gonna learn today, or Kevin Hart, you gonna learn today.
Yeah. You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn. Listen, real quick, I know you gotta run, Auntie Nakia, but real quick, Jamie Foxx is still recovering. We mentioned yesterday the situation with Jamie Foxx. They are calling it a medical complication. He was filming a movie in Atlanta with Cameron Diaz, and his daughter Corinne Foxx says that he is getting better. She has not officially said, and no one has officially said what was the cause for the hospitalization, what's the medical complication, but we kept hearing yesterday and still hearing that it's likely that he suffered a stroke. But again, that is something we are hearing, is not confirmed. So it's not something we can go to press with. But we still, the latest on Jamie Foxx is that he has made some more improvements. That's the latest. And so we keep hoping, Auntie Nakia, that Jamie fully recovers and that he's back on the set of his film with Cameron Diaz.
Yes, and I will give him all the well wishes and prayers in the world, because in 2018, 5 days after my birthday, I suffered a stroke in the newsroom, and was one of those things. And I was coming back with the flu, because when I looked at what she said, and she said thanks to quick care, immediate, like when they say that immediate action and reaction and everything like that, it's one of those things. And it was something that paralyzed me with fear moving forward, because every move I make, I'm like, oh God, is this about to be a stroke that's happened? But that was a whole other medical thing that they found out that was associated with a hole in my heart. Something called a PFO, unexplained stroke patients. I think we really should talk about that in the future, because they had unexplained stroke patients. There was a connection between, I didn't have high blood pressure, I didn't have diabetes, I didn't have anything. I had a hole in my heart. I coughed, trying to dislodge the phlegm in my chest. The blood went into my heart the wrong way, clotted, shot up to my head, hit my right occipital lobe, which affects the left field of vision. And my vision went out in the newsroom. And I was just like saying, somebody take me to the hospital. Something isn't quite right. And then later on, I found out that I had a stroke, but I didn't lose any kind of facial functions, paralysis, not speech. And they kept saying, she's young, she's healthy, we can't figure it out. It took 5 months for us to figure out what happened to me. And I had heart surgery. I had a heart surgical procedure where they put a mesh device inside to seal the hole in my heart. They went in through my groin, went up to my heart, plugged it in. I was awake the entire time, 45
gosh.
minutes. And
You was awake.
I was awake. I was awake and talking, and I was talking too much to where I was like drugged up, right? But I was talking, and they said, "Miss Cooper, can you stop talking?" I said, "But nobody's talking to me." I remember saying that. I was like really high. I was on those drugs. But that's like a whole thing. And I always, at first, I never said the word stroke. I said the S word, and I would say the S word because I didn't. It would choke me up to say it. And it's only within the last few months or maybe the last 6 months that I can say, yes, I had a stroke before.
Wow. You know, two things. One, we're so glad you're better. We're so glad that it wasn't worse than what it was. But the other thing is, we can't talk about Jamie Foxx on this program anymore because yesterday we talked about Jamie Foxx and his situation, and Barrington was on, and Barrington also had a stroke, and he told us about his experience of having a stroke. So I feel like if we bring up I feel like if we bring up Jamie Foxx on Monday, somebody else who we might have on the program tell me they had a stroke.
It just shows you how many people are suffering silently or have experienced medical conditions or situations, and we aren't sharing that information, and that can really help others. And it takes something to happen to a celebrity before the rest of us use our voices to say, you know what, it happened to me. It normalizes it. And even though we don't know that that's what happened to Jamie Foxx, he had a medical emergency. That's enough for people to talk about. And we know whatever it is, he's a fighter, he's a survivor, because of people like me can get on up and say this. I went back to work 10 days later.
Oh, wow. Well, in the words of New Edition, let's cool it now.
And I gotta get some tickets. I gotta get some tickets to some of these concerts and stuff, since you have the inside track on everybody out there. I'm gonna be spamming you when people come.
You listen, Auntie Nikia got to talk to Auntie Pam, because Pam is going to all the New Edition shows. I didn't even know she was going to all the New Edition shows like that. I know she was the original Candy Girl, that's for sure.
That's right.
But going to all the shows, come on now, don't tell me you're a New Edition groupie. We can't have New Edition groupies in the family.
Oh yeah,
you can't be a groupie.
Oh, I'm a groupie.
You can like them, but you can't be a groupie.
Yeah, no. I like them. They still got it going on. She got it going on. Women's NE heartbreak on there.
Those boys are bad. Congratulations to New Edition. That is fantastic. What an honor for them. 40 years. I just can't get over 40 years. They 40 years old as a group, except for Johnny Gill. Let's make sure Monique Daniels understands we're with you on that. Thanks for watching. Let it be known. Thank you, Nakia. We will see you guys on Monday.